Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program is brought to you by Calhoun's. You see their social media handle right there. You can follow them on Twitter at Calhoun's. They're always giving something away. Summer is here. That means days at the lake, picnics, you name it. Don't spoil the fun by having to do the work yourself. Let Calhoun's do the work for you. It's the Feed 5, Feed 10 family pack. Either one, you can get the barbecue in there. You can do it with ribs. You get all the sides, the slaw, the beans. You get the napkins, the utensils, the plates. Everything, literally, it's all in their own little picnic basket here. And then when you're done, as Chuck Cavaleris is always keen to point out, you can then just use it kind of like a trash can. Just put it all back in a box. So he's right. Let Calhoun's do the work with their Feed 5 or Feed 10 family pack. If you're going out on the lake, that is the way to go, Calhoun's. All right. Jeremy Pruitt talked to a pair of VFLs on the radio this week. Here's what he had to say about his defense to Jason Swain. We got the quote right there. Jeremy spoke a little something for the Pearl Jam fans out there. Really, when you talk about 3-4 and 4-3, to me there's not much difference. There will be some games where we're all 3-4. There will be some games that will mostly be 4 down front. You've got to be able to do both, to me, if you're going to be a dominant defense. Okay, there's nothing surprising there. He also said that his outside linebackers are pure pass rushers. That's what the goal is. But most teams play nickel all the time these days. But every defensive coordinator you talk to, for the most part, would say, well, we're going to play some 3 down. You got some 4 down. They got some 5 down line. It happens. You're flexible. All right, that's the goal. Have we made too much of this switch to the 3-4 when Pruitt first came in? Or are we still looking at talent and wondering if he's going to have the flexibility to be as flexible as he wants to be? Is he going to have the talent available to be that flexible?
I was one of the ones that thought we made too much of it. I think, yes, you've recruited to a certain defense. Your short players here, your short players there, I understand that. But I thought it was made a little bit too much, and I think most really good defenses are able to switch in and out and in and out. And if there's a year for him to be able to put everything on the table, I think this is it. I mean, expectations are going to be high, so hey, let's just go out there and teach them everything.
Have we made too much of that?
Well, and I think that's part of what it is. I think it's all that this coaching staff wants to teach these players and what they expect of them. I think simplifying it to just 4-3 to 3-4, that's maybe too much. But it is also the personnel. There's a reason that Tennessee's coaching staff so aggressively went after several corners, both on the recruiting trail and as grad transfer options, because I think the coaching staff has concerns about what they can do with this defense with the current personnel.
I think that in terms of the 4-3-3-4, look, in the spring game, Tennessee ran a whole lot of 4-3. They did that quite a bit. So I think that is overblown. But get back to your question about the personnel, I think that's one of the concerns. And Josh, you mentioned the grad transfers. They're looking for players to plug in, even if they're grad transfers. They move players around from the offensive line to the defensive line, back to the defensive line. I think with all that movement, and I know they're trying to build depth, but I also think that's a hint that we're not sure what these guys can do. So, yeah, I think too much is made of it. I think it's more of a personnel issue than it is a scheme.
Mm-hmm. And I'll finish up by saying too much was made of it because we make too much of everything. That's the world we live in now.
Yeah. I think that the scheme part, eventually it's going to be exactly what he says. But I get back to, do you have the personnel to be as flexible this year as you talk, as you want to be? Now, he's also made the point that you got a bunch of guys coming in here in the fall that they haven't seen yet. So you got new players that could fit into this mix. Yeah. The trick there is how much can you count on guys who've been on campus for a month to really step in and be a key role early in the season. But we'll see. All right. He also had a talk with Eric Ainge this week. Here's what he said about the fan base. There's going to be times, there is all over the SEC, when you talk about the rigors of the schedule. Sometimes you need the fan base to kind of bring the momentum to the stadium. I think our fans are going to do that. It don't matter who we're playing. I think our fan base is excited about getting this season going. I know we'll do that, meaning I know that our fans will help carry us when we need it. Okay. He also said the UT fan base is as good as anybody in the, quote, as good as anybody in the country. He had expectations for the fans before the spring game. And then after the spring game, he made it clear that some of those expectations weren't met. Do we have any fears that he might be disappointed if this Tennessee team is 5-7, 6-6? And I think most of us think that's probably in the zone. I don't know how wildly loud that fan base is going to be. And also, a few years ago, Butch Jones got in trouble for reacting on his headsets when he was booed up by like 50 points kicking a field goal. I think Jeremy Pruitt might react a little more saltily than Butch Jones did to that. Any concerns that he's got these expectations and maybe they won't be met here in year one?
Oh, I think this is the year that they'll probably be met. I think his big concern comes next year. I think people will be enthusiastic going in. They'll be enthusiastic in September. They'll be enthusiastic the first game.
Well, I mean, your
In
ticket
other words,
sales are still lagging behind last year.
I think
behind.
people will be enthusiastic, but I think as the season goes on, he will be more disappointed.
I think you got to give them reason to cheer. So I don't think if Tennessee is getting beat, I don't think all of a sudden they're going to be cheering, hey, rally. I think that this is a reactionary fan base that if you do something well, they're going to jump behind and cheer for you. And if you're getting beat 24-0, they're going to leave. That's what I think.
I think that's a product of where we are. If I'm spending this kind of money and I can go home and watch 15 other games on my big screen, I'm not sitting around for the end of this. I'm gone. How many people missed the second half of Tennessee's win over Florida a couple of years ago because they left at halftime?
Yeah, I think a question then ends up being in a big game like Florida, if there's a decision late that has to be made by the coaching staff, if it doesn't go Tennessee's way, how does that play out? Later in the season, if you've lost a few games and you make a decision at South Carolina and you come back with a loss, how is that received by the fans? I think when you get to those moments, because you're going to get there at some point in the SEC, how does that go from the coach's side and the fan base side? And the media, too.
I think that's kind of that's kind of boilerplate for a coach, though. You always say we're going to need our fans to carry us at times. Yeah, I think they all say that. All right, much more to come, including recruiting news. But next we turn to Tennessee's highly ranked, and I mean highly ranked, basketball team. Are they too highly ranked? We'll discuss Tennessee basketball next.